Yeah, I had quite a radical life change around when I was 28, 29. I think a lot of people do. Saturn returns. And just prior to that, I remember saying, because I was married at the time to my then husband, that I felt like I'd had it too easy. Because I had a desire to somehow serve people, but I didn't. I felt like I didn't have enough. I just had an easy life, and so I needed to somehow be afraid. I remember saying to that, and he was like, "Of course you don't." But shortly after that, I realised that I really needed to move from where I was quite comfortable. I'd created really a perfect image of what I thought I needed to be complete. I was living in New Zealand, I had a horse and a dinghy and a perfect job teaching drama in the school, yada yada. Great postcards home. But I remember driving back from work one day and in tears, and out of my mouth the words, "I've lost touch with spirit." And it felt like I had a hole in my centre. And I had something of a breakdown after that. I was working pretty hard. And I realised, it was a long story short, was that I did leave everything, including my marriage and New Zealand, to figure out, well, how do I get to a state completion? Because I've done all I thought that I should do to create a life on the outside so that I would feel complete. It didn't work, funny enough. So my way was to do exactly the opposite and go out with nothing except a connection with someone who I knew was in the Canary Islands, who became my teacher, really, and showed me how to travel with very little. I arrived with an enormous backpack. He was ruthless in shrinking it to about this big. And often without shoes even. No money. To really the opposite of what I'd had. I'd accrued a lot of stuff. And so I was walking into the world with nothing except what was in this backpack and not very much money. And so I travelled with this guy for about 3 or 4 months. I learnt to meditate at that time for the first time. I did a Vipassana course. And then I was kind of on my own. And the first time I stuck my thumb up, I was petrified. But then nothing bad happened. And then I did it again and again and again. And actually, there's a little kind of a gambling hit almost when you go hitchhiking. Because you never know if they're going to pick you up. And I even hitchhiked across the Atlantic. Great adventures, but like you say, the sort of the risk and the fear before you begin is a necessary part of having an adventure. Really, there has to be at least the unknown, that unfamiliar. So, in that sense, I thrive on the edge. I thrive on the challenge.
Better words than I could.
No, I'm with you totally,
Yeah.
and it stimulates something.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the focus just now is not so much on bliss, but a deeper feeling of love, a more, it's almost more visceral. That I think is, I mean, I understand from people who have higher sense perception that there's extra waves of cosmic energy coming our way. And I can say this month, particularly the last 3 days, I've really felt it, and in my dreams particularly. But my dreams have been very vivid, and I've woken up with them and woken up with this such softness in my chest. And from the dream, it's like just a deeper embodiment of love. And it requires the end of being right. Which is easy once you're plugged in to this, because there's no desire to feel anything but this. But I notice when I'm not feeling this, it's because I'm trying to sort something out in my mind to a point of now I know. And when it's like that, then I'm right. Not necessarily right over someone else's wrong, but right for my own sake, for my own. It's trying to pin something down. So basically I'm safe. Yeah. Yeah, I think the desire to be safe is in the opposite direction from this surrender into love. And it's, a friend said very beautifully, as she was working with me at the time, she said, you are unconditional love, you are pure love, you are divine love, you are that. And anything else is mistaken identity. And I've heard that before, but somehow now, it's, true. And I feel like I kind of come into line with the garden when I say that, when I sit into that. There's no kind of self-doubt in any of these beautiful plants. There's just a deep love, self-love. That's the thing. It requires another layer of self-improvementness to just crack away. This idea that if I just did this or tweaked that, or in me or you, then it would be better. Yeah, and I have those. They're insidious and they're very low-lying, and those voices are quiet. But they seem to be much more obvious at the moment, and in their place is an invitation to a deeper, first, self-love, a deeper gentleness. So my nervous system relaxes talking about it. And it's not new. This is the thing. It's just another. Just feels more visceral now, more real world, and anything that doesn't deal with this is unreal world. It's like flipped. There's nothing Pollyanna about love.
Do you feel maybe also that that's the way that humanity is heading? It's kind of like heading back into that sense of pure love, that connection with pure love?
I don't know if it's a back, but yes, I think that is our. I think that's our nature. That's our essential nature. So yeah, from that back, from that sense that it's we're returning to our essence. Yeah, definitely. And not all of us. That's another topic.
Yeah.
Because love doesn't require anyone to do anything. But that the essence, the essence of someone, whatever they are doing, whatever choices they've made, is still love. And because the essence is love, love is the most powerful force. Because it's the most fundamental. I don't have a vision of myself really in the future. Not in that kind of 5-year goal way. I have a sense of, like we've touched on it already, what it feels like to become more human, more connected, viscerally connected to each other and the earth. I definitely see that as, that's the path I'm on. And I know many people, I'm really privileged to know many people who also see themselves on that path. Because I've made choices for many years going in that direction. Like my priority is not career, not money, not my own family. Priority is embodiment, authenticity, connection with the natural world. Keeping my relationships clean, clear. There is a kind of a map of communal living that is emerging, and the blessed dancing has sort of been the part of that. So I see that's how we get to embody together joyfully and in nature. So for me, community needs to have dance in it. It's got to have bodies moving joyfully. Otherwise it's not a healthy community. And also it's got to have sound in it, song, musical instruments. People playing, creating harmonies together. Otherwise it's not a healthy community. It also needs to, and I'm going like, for me the embodiment part stands in the east, because I do map around a circle a lot, and the compass points and the qualities of the direction. So the dancing is in the east, the singing is in the west. In the south, I see that we need to be tending our own food more and more. It's growing our own food together, collectively, and sharing it. And because everybody eats and everybody lives on the planet, everybody's got to get their hands dirty. Otherwise, there's an incoherence. There's a gap. It doesn't mean that you have to, be a farmer, but it does mean that you need to know we need to know where our food comes from, and we need to be willing to show up there for some of our time, even if it's just a morning or a couple of hours, to put our bodies in contact with the soil where our food is growing. And so that kind of literal connectivity is what I see community needs. And also, like sort of sitting in the north, is this idea we need to tend our grief, which is something we are very unpracticed at culturally, and something that indigenous communities know about. That they keep their tubes clean by grief tending regularly.
Could you explain a bit more about that? How you see that?
I learned, and quite a few people in this area learned from a woman called Sobonfu Somé, who brought a way of grief tending from Africa, which is a collective. It's a collective grief tending, and our grief doesn't have to be brought on by someone dying. It just allows that grief is a part of life. Like something happening that you don't want, someone saying something that you don't want, being born on the planet at this time when it's like this, all of these things cause us to feel pain. And so we need to hold space where we can allow that pain to move in a way that clears the tubes, so that when we also don't need to make a story about this pain and hold someone responsible for it. We need to really allow it to move through us. And so there's different ways to do that. The way that was modelled, or the image that comes to me that is in part inspired by Sobonfu Somé, is us around a fire, our community here around a fire. We have the fire in the centre. There's a space, and then there's people drumming. And the fire and the drums are the constant. And behind the circle of drums, the village, the community stands, and they're clapping, and they're sounding, and they're singing. And whenever anyone has the upwelling of grief or rage in them, they go forward towards the fire. And as they go forward, somebody from the community comes and has their back, just stands or sits behind them, and can put a hand there if wanted, or they can be more present. But the person grieving or raging, because it goes through both very quickly, doesn't it, is accompanied. And when it's spent, when it's through, then they come back to the village, accompanied by their wingman, wingwoman, and are welcomed back. So no words processing why this. It's not important, really. It really needs to be embodied again. We've got to be okay with other people seeing us ugly, tears, raging. Yeah, so actually that I've got quite a lot of vision, haven't I, about what makes healthy community. And yeah, it's very much about being in the body, on the earth, with each other. Funny enough, it's not about being on Google or Zoom. Don't get me started. Thanks, Jay. That's nice questions. Gratitude, Jay, for this opportunity and your generosity in offering it. Your time and your care and your interest. You're listening. It's a big gift, love, really big gift.
Thank you.
Thank you.